Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. My name is Mo Amir, and our featured guest tonight is an iconic journalist, broadcaster, and news executive. She's anchored several news programs throughout her illustrious 35-year career, including a decade at the helm of Global BC's NewsHour Final. In 2015, she was the first woman to be the news director at Global BC and BC One, a role that expanded to include the oversight of the 980 CKNW radio news team and the Global Okanagan news team in Kelowna. She had a big hand, which I'm sure she'll downplay as a little nudge, in my media career. She is the incredible Jill Krop. Jill, so nice to see you.
Very nice to see you, Mo. And I did just do a little nudge for you.
It was a big hand, but I'm not going to debate you. Jill, in the last few years, we've seen an incredible amount of hatred, abuse, both online and offline, towards media as a whole. Now, your youthful exuberance will betray you here, but you've had quite the career in media. You've seen a lot of big changes, so you have great insight into what we're seeing. Is this loud minority of anti-media fervor a recent phenomenon, or has this always existed?
It's interesting, Mo. You know, there's always been a critique or people critical of the news media, but you know how when you're driving in your car, you feel like you're in a cocoon and you're in this safe space? People do weird things in their car while they're driving along because they don't even recognize that everybody else can see them. Right. I think a lot of people are feeling that way. They're in their offices at home, their basements at home, their living rooms at home. And so there's this insular feeling. You're on a phone or a laptop and you're just typing away. You'd never walk up to somebody and say, you know what I think of you?
We are starting to see reporters, journalists being harassed in real life, offline, you know, and culminating into violence sometimes. I mean, that seems to be happening more and more, doesn't it?
You know what? I think that's the result of those people have always existed. I think they're angrier than they have been in the past. I think former U.S. President Donald Trump actually gave them permission to behave like that. He was and is the most vile public official I have ever seen. He is rude. He's a bully. He says terrible things about people on camera that get projected all over the place. So if he's allowed to do it, seemingly without getting in trouble, well, then there's no reason for these other folks not to behave that way.
Now, when we talk about this media anger or backlash, whatever it is, there's almost like a paradox here, right? Like on one hand, as you sort of alluded to, we are more critical than ever about news reporting, narratives, even the representation of voices in media. But then on the other hand, this increasingly loud and toxic, even if they're a minority, they seem to be quite media illiterate, you know, lacking the tools to be properly critical, in the sense that, you know, I see more and more people willing to label reputable mainstream outlets as fake news and then treat other outlets that have far less journalistic integrity as gospel. Can you make sense of this? Like, what is happening?
No. No, to be honest, I hear you. I have, like many people, I have family members who are sending me links to what I consider just crack, kook, wacky stuff. And they're, you know, devouring it. And listen to this. And did you hear this viewpoint? And unfortunately, there is on the internet this space where you get what's called confirmation bias, where one group believes what the rest of us think is ridiculous. And then they all swirl around together. And so it becomes their truth. And we all know that the algorithms on the social platforms just continue to feed them more of that information. And so that even, you know, firms up their beliefs. I reposted something that was on Instagram the other day that said, it doesn't matter how many of you believe in it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And if no one believes in it, but it's right, it's still right. I feel, and this is, I really don't want to sound entitled or superior, but I really think too, education has a lot to do with it. And I think, you know, the mainstream media by and large is fairly liberal. And I don't mean necessarily they vote for liberals, but what I mean is they've been educated. They've had exposure to different subjects, topics, views, beliefs. And so they tend to be liberal. And that makes me understand why people whose views are more conservative start to say, well, Fox News better represents me, because I don't believe, that mainstream media viewpoint that I'm seeing. I don't believe in abortion. And there's sort of things that the mainstream media tends to stick up for.
So what do we do, Jill? Like, do we just call it out when we see abusive behavior? Or are there more institutional actions that media, maybe government, maybe social media? I mean, you alluded to this idea of the algorithm, and certainly those algorithms play to outrage us because that creates the most engagement.
I know. I, like you, am fearful. I really am. And I worry about people, much younger than I am. I have a 13-year-old son. I worry about his generation and what they're exposed to and what they start to believe. I naively thought we were in a good spot. I naively thought we were moving forward to be anti-discrimination, just all the good things. And obviously in the last few years, we've been awakened to the fact that we're not, that there are still a lot of people who are racist, bigoted, discriminatory. So I sometimes think we're not going to be able to stop at Mo, and we're just going to have to get to a place where, okay, that's the part of the country you live in, and that's the part of the country we live in.
Wow.
I'm not sure we can. I know, isn't that, it scares me. I often, when it was happening in the United States, because it happened there earlier with Trump in power, I thought so many times, okay, all of you people who hate all of this, who think it's all wrong and all corrupt, let's give you a chunk of the country, anti-vaxxers, just you go live there. And we're going to live here, and we'll come check back in on you in a couple of years, because my gut tells me you will have cannibalized one another, because eventually you turn on everybody, and we'll be over here moving medicine forward and technology forward and pro-LGBTQ too, doing what we consider all the good things. It's not that simple, though. We don't get to divide a country or a city into two and say you have your half and we'll have our half. So let's hope we find a way to work together.
But it sounds like you're saying that if we don't work together, if we don't figure this out, then secession or breaking up is the inevitable end.
Maybe I've watched too many movies. I think it's the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Look at all the movie stuff that's kind of come true over the years. Things that were written in the 60s that were like, whoa, that's kind of our reality now.
Yeah.
So I'm not certain that our society as a whole doesn't end up like that, because I believe we're at the precipice. Now, I also think, you talked about institutions doing something about this. I think some of those social platforms were very irresponsible. And I was, you get so angry at them. Well, oh, no, we're just the platform. We just provide the space, the stage. That's not our responsibility. Yeah. It's like, you're kind of an information sharer, like a news organization. And so you have these responsibilities. And so I'm grateful to see now. I just saw something today. I was on Instagram again, and there was a messaging that said, hey, this has been proven to be false. So just, this person's posted it. We've allowed them to, but please know that the way they're phrasing it isn't the reality. And I think news media mainstream news media is taking just a beating. And I have friends on Facebook whose beliefs are quite opposite from mine. I don't block them. I don't delete them. I don't unfriend them, because I think if you do that, then the lines of communication are gone. And I think we need to keep those lines of communication open so that there's opportunity for conversation. And perhaps over time we can get closer to having the same views. But I had one of them take a shot at the mainstream media, and they're posting these memes, and mainstream media, haha. Oh, I know what it was. It was COVID. No, sorry, Omicron. It was two words, and then they did an anagram,
like
and took the letters
Omicron.
out. And then it spelled, the letters spelled media control.
Oh.
And they're like, it was Omicron and Delta, I think.
Okay.
Media control. And they're like, ha ha, look at that, people. Right. And I'm like, I've worked in the media for 34 or 5 years. We're not that smart.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have created Delta and Omicron to go, oh, we're going to get them and we're going to get the CDC and everybody else to call it that. Because really, we got media control. Like, they give us far more credit, or they give the media far more credit than they deserve in terms of, a giant conspiracy. Yeah.
Well, I hope we turn the corner. I mean, I don't think this is untenable, at least in the trend it's going in. But hey, Jill, I appreciate your insights. Real quick, 10 seconds. When are you going to be back in media? When can we see you back on TV?
Oh, I might be doing a little something on TV in the fall.
Okay. I had to ask. Thanks so much, Jill.
All righty.
Folks, that was journalist, broadcaster, and news executive Jill Krop, a real media icon here in BC. For our full interview, find This is VANCOLOUR wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now stick around, because I might have started this show in a bathtub, but I'm a shower guy, because showers are way better than baths. Well, actually, the super serious debate about the super serious things is up next. My name is Mo Amir. This is VANCOLOUR.